everybody and welcome back to CoolScience123 on YouTube. Today I'm going to be showing you how to beat Blood 720 and almost everything within Five Nights at Candy's 1 But Better. Five Nights at Candy's 1 But Better is a significant upgrade from the original game, and I will forever defend it as my favorite fan game of all time. Now, for this video, I will be going into depth with a lot of the characters, the improvements of the characters, and their blood mode, and that will bring us all up to Five Nights at Candy's 1 But Better, Blood 720. Enjoy the video. Candy will start on the show stage with Cindy in camera 1, and from here he will move to camera 2. From here he has a 50-50 chance to either go to either camera 9 or 3. If he chooses cam 3, he's going right and will show up on camera 4, and you'll be able to see his eyes glowing in the dark in the office. If he chooses left, he's going to camera 8 after camera 9, and then he'll go to camera 7, then to camera 6. And just like the right side, you'll be able to see his eyes glowing in the dark on camera 6. So overall, Candy's not too difficult of a character, but can mess you up when pet of a threat. The same cannot be said about the next character, Cindy. Cindy has been completely reworked from OG FNaC 1. She'll now start in camera 1, and then head back for a bit, spanning around 30 seconds. Then she'll move to camera 12, then to camera 2, then camera 3, and you'll finally be able to see her on the right door. You'll also see her eyes glowing in the dark similar to Candy, but that's not the problem. Her eyes are slightly different to Candy's, but instead of bonking immediately, she'll drain a whopping 10 seconds worth of power. This is a big issue compared to Candy. As seen in this clip, the wheel to deal with Cindy is to find her on the cameras after she's left. Find the camera she is on and watch her for 1 second. Doing so will send her back to the stage, and this cycle repeats. The biggest problem is when trying to pair her with other threats like Chester and Blank, as seen in this clip of Blood 720. You often have to break a cycle just to find her. And that covers Cindy. Honestly, Cindy is one of the easier characters once you get used to her and deal with her timers. The same could definitely be said about the next character, who's honestly even easier, and I would call the easiest character, Chester. Chester is the most unique character in FNaC 1 But Better, and definitely is the most changed. But he isn't too difficult to deal with. He'll stop behind the curtains in camera 9, and then he'll peek his head out of the curtains, and then after that, he'll move to the center of the room. Once he's in the center of the room, he becomes the main threat of the night, but we'll talk about that in a moment. After he's in camera 9, he will leave to go to camera 8, then to camera 7, then to camera 6, and the door. Once he's in camera the door, you can clearly tell that it's different from Candy, as it's on the left, and he's a little bit taller. But Chester is actually really weird, because he will actually stay at the door forever once he reaches the door. This is really odd, as you may wonder, how do you deal with him? But there's actually a really easy way to deal with him. The way you deal with Chester is by watching him on the cameras. Watching him on the cameras will stall him and pause his timer. The way he works is that there's a 50-second timer counting down each room. Once his timer reaches 0, Chester will move to the next room, but you need to watch him to pause his timer. If you do not watch enough, then he'll move over to the next room. Now this is when Chester actually is seen for most of the night, as you'll need to be watching him all times, while dealing with other threats like Cindy and the door animatronics. So now that we're done talking about the easiest character in the game, let's talk about the hardest character, Blank. Now, Blank will start in camera 11 and progress through 3 different stages, until he reaches the window in camera 5. The way you must deal with Blank is that when he leaves camera 11, you must check camera 5, see his animation, and then close the window. If you do not close the window with camera 5 open, he will smash the glass and kill you. Some kind of cruel joke that FNaC 1 But Better changed is that you must have checked Blank before closing the window. Otherwise, Blank will set in the last frame of his attack before killing you, draining lots, and I mean lots, of power on the window until you open it again. And that's it for Blank. Although we still have another really difficult character to get to, and that is, of course, you know him, you don't love him, Old Candy. Old Candy is definitely one of the harder animatronics, and that's the way just he works. The way he starts is in camera 10, where he cannot be seen. Then, you'll be able to be seen behind the wall in cam 10, and then he'll be able to walk into the center of camera 10. And then from there, he takes the exact same path as Chester the chimpanzee for the establishment. Once he makes it to the door, something interesting happens, however. He'll make a weird ambience noise that I'll play in full when he makes it to the door. Now, you may have noticed in that clip that Old Candy stayed for a whopping 25 seconds, and that's because the time you watch Old Candy is directly equivalent to how long he's at the door. The last thing about Old Candy is that, unlike the other animatronics we've dealt with before, he cannot be seen with the night vision at all, making him kind of unpredictable on harder max modes that we'll get to later. And that deals with Old Candy. And he's honestly one of the harder animatronics, but quite simple in retrospect. But now we get to the best character of them all, the Penguin.
Can I take your order?
Penguin will start in the kitchen behind camera 12, and from there, he will spawn into the kitchen in the center of the room. From now, he acts basically like Cindy, where he goes from camera 12 to 2 to 3, then to camera 4, and then to the door. So now that he's at the door, you can see that his eyes are noticeably different compared to the other animatronics. He also plays a slightly different sound effect when exiting. I'll play it now. Now, when he actually gets to the office door, he won't actually kill you. He'll just enter your office under the desk and start closing one of the 3 random doors. You cannot open doors unlike an FNaC 1 original. And that covers Penguin, but there's still one more character to cover, being Rat. Rat is essentially a carbon copy version of Candy. He starts in camera 9, not being visible, and from there, he'll become visible and bust out the door, and now he has a 50-50 movement path. If he goes right, he's going to go from camera 9 to 2, then to camera 3, then to go to the door. Then he can also go to the left side, which is to camera 8, then to camera 7, and then to the other door. Another unique feature about Rat is that he cannot be seen with the night vision like Old Candy, but he basically has the exact same movement path as Candy. And now that we've talked about Rat and all of the other characters, we can finally get to talk about our first max mode, 720. 720 mode, the first of 2 max modes in this game, placed about 40 spots above 5020 on the max mode list, and about 200 spots below the second max mode, Blood 720. Now, I will be going over this max mode as it's very, very easy once you know what to do. But there are things you track off like Old Candy, Cindy, and especially watching Chester all the time with like. The first tip I have for you before we even start the night is to get a timer, as you will probably need it for both Blood 720 and normal 720. So I decided to voice over this entire run in its entirety. I'm not sure why I decided to do this, but it was honestly a bad idea. So, in this mode, you honestly don't want to do anything until you reach around 15 seconds in the night. Once you reach 15 seconds, Candy could reach the door and attack, or he could also just, go the other side instead of the right side. If he goes right, it'll take him 15 seconds. If he goes left, it'll take him 25 seconds. If Rat goes left or right, it'll both take him 20 seconds for each one. Remember to keep your eye out on the timer for Cindy, and Old Candy, as Old Candy will often show up 15 seconds after he's started the night, and then that's when he'll overwrite Chester, and he'll reach the door after 30 seconds, simple movement path back. So, you'll also want to be keep your eye out on the timer for Blank. I'm going to pull up his timers right now. These are the times that you'll want to be looking out for Blank. and if your timer crosses this point, then you must check camera 5 for blank. So from this point, all you're doing is just repeatedly checking camera 6 and camera 4 to make sure that you do not miss any door animatronics coming your way. Now, as for Old Candy, I actually had my game muted, so I couldn't hear any bonks at all during this recording, making it really difficult on me to play this max mode, but it wasn't even that difficult, actually. Camera 1 is also a camera that you need to add to the loop occasionally just to know when Cindy's actually left, like, on the dot. If you do this, you must check the cameras in a reverse motion starting from camera 3 and working your way up to camera 2. This is because if you catch Cindy on a camera, but you have the light off, then Cindy will not actually move until you take her eyes off that camera. Then she'll move over to the next camera. So it is possible to actually watch Cindy without sending her back to the stage, and this can be used in a way to green run in some cases. Now, as you can see, I am checking blank because I do not have a timer, but that's besides the point. One thing about Rat is that he'll often hide in the cameras until he actually reaches the door, and then he'll actually become aggressive. It's also worth mentioning that you have your eyes on Chester basically the whole night, so you'll know if Candy reaches camera 9. If he reaches cam 9, you definitely will have to worry about Candy for a couple of seconds or movement opportunities, as you'll know that Candy is gonna go to the left door and not the right door. As for Rat, you probably won't see him on any cameras besides 6 and 4. As, unlike Candy, what you can do with Candy is that you can turn off the night vision and do a non-power efficient. You can do a completely power efficient way of checking all the cameras and sweeping through all of them. And if you see any glowing eyes, it's most likely going to be Candy, unless they're really small and it's probably Penguin. But with Rat, you cannot do this, as Rat will obviously, his eyes don't glow in the dark. So I don't really have much more to say about this max mode in general. I've just wanted this max mode guide just to be an upgrade from my previous one about 720 mode, as that was not the greatest. I'll say that. So I'll let this night play out, and I'll highlight any key moments. From this point forward, I realized that I kind of wanted Chester to just go forward in the cameras, as I was I kind of knew that if I kept watching him, I'd probably run low on power, because Chester was staying in camera 9 for quite a while. And by this point, if I just stopped watching Chester, I probably wouldn't even die to him. As you saw that, I was really close to getting caught by Cindy, but I did not. Cindy won't actually just kill you. She'll obviously wait 10 seconds before she actually reaches the door. And she'll be at the door for 10 seconds, draining a lot of power, which it's normally fine, especially on 720 mode. You only have about like a 1 error with Cindy, and if you get any more than 1 error, you might as well just reset. Here what happened is that Penguin actually entered the office because I was trying to get Blank before Penguin, but I did not succeed with that. And from this point now, we had to deal with Penguin without audio, so I just had to just guess when he closed the door and look up high on my power to see if Penguin would see if any power was taken. If I saw a rapid amount of power taken, then I would obviously move it back up the door that Penguin closed. There really isn't enough to be said about this mode, other than the fact that I did get one last Chester movement just because I wasn't watching him anymore. I just thought that wasn't really a point. Another thing I forgot to add on to my facts about Chester is that a 50-second timer will start from camera 9 to camera 8. But this timer is actually decreased by 2, or 120 frames every room. So from camera 9 to camera 8, it's 50 seconds. From camera 8 to camera 7, it's 48 seconds. And from camera 7 to 6, it is 46 seconds. So in this night, Chester did make it to camera 7, as I just wasn't checking him enough. But also, that was kind of on purpose, as there is a huge margin of power that you can save by not checking Chester for a while. You can also see me speeding through the cameras, as this is a very, very useful thing to do. And right there is the end of the night. So now that we've covered both 720 mode and all of the animatronics, there's still one more thing. And that is not just the characters, but all the characters on their blood mode and blood 720 mode. Let's get into it. The first change is that Chester, Candy, Cindy, and Penguin no longer glow in the dark or in the doorways. The next change is that for Candy, he can also go to the window on top of the left and the right door. As for Cindy, her change is that when she makes it to the door, instead of just leaving after 10 seconds and draining lots of power, she will actually stay at this door forever and will never leave. Chester will now get to the door just like normal, but instead of staying there forever, he will just cause a power outage leading to a death by Candy. The next change is that Rat will now attack from the camera behind each camera, which is camera 7 and camera 3, leading to a much faster Rat attacks. The next one is Penguin. When you're starting the night, Penguin will immediately spawn in the office instead of having to get there on blood mode. Blank has the most complicated change. So normally on blood mode, instead of having a little bit of time after Blank leaves Cam 11, he will actually instantly teleport to the window and do his attack. The only way to stop this is by watching him on his starting camera to slow down his attack, equivalent to how long you actually watched him. And now for the last character change, which is Old Candy. And definitely the hardest change that makes Old Candy the hardest character. Normally this time would reset on Old Candy whenever you watch him, but now this timer is carried over for the entire night, and this by far makes it the most difficult. Now right here is my ranking of every single animatronic in Finance and Candies. Now this includes blood modes. If this did not include blood modes, Blank would definitely be the hardest, but including blood modes, Old Candy is definitely the hardest. And Rat can honestly just be so unpredictable sometimes. Now, there's still one more thing to do in this game. And it's time to talk about it. After decompiling everything we've been through, head into the custom night. Once you're in the custom night, activate all of them to begin Blood 720. Blood 720. You know, honestly will forever be my favorite mod of all time, and honestly my favorite Max mod of all time. So this does not mean I cannot go a single day without thinking about making this video, which is what I'm making now. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce the Blood 720 guide. Alright guys, so this was my actual daily complete Blood 720 completion, but at the time of this video, it did not get out in time. So we're gonna have to set on with this. So, at 10 seconds, you're going to immediately react to Penguin's door, and then check camera 2, 8, 5, and 3 to see Candy and Rat on the cameras and when they're going next. After that, if you see any of them and see when they're coming, react to them, and watch Blank on a second before the cameras on cam 5, so that he'll flash the static and then he'll be there. You can predict when Old Candy's going to get to the door, as it will be every 30 seconds unless some kind of movement fail happens because someone is occupying the camera now. So what you'll need to do is repeat and observe what is actually going on in the cameras. What is going on in the cameras at the moment is that Chester is in the cameras in front of Rat and Candy. So basically you want to see who's coming into camera 9, and if you do not see Candy, check camera 5 and 3 and 4. Just in case you accidentally missed Candy going right. Especially Rat in this case, as Rat can be really dangerous when left for a couple of seconds. Now, you can also use prediction on Rat, which is really needed on most occasions, as you could definitely fail if you take too long to check the cameras and see Rat. So one thing you need to definitely be doing is, if you can predict candy but you do not have time to check camera 3, you definitely should check camera 4 instead if you know rat's not going to be there for a while. I don't have many intervals for old candy, as obviously it just depends on how much you watch it, but just know it's every 30 seconds and I don't know, a couple seconds afterwards. Another thing is that you need to watch out for blank blocking, which is when candy overwrites camera 5 over blank. What can also happen is that if blank shows up before candy, you can get a double bonk on camera 5, which is blank and candy, but this has to be blank showing up first. If you have blank enter camera 5 secretly behind candy and candy is not left the room, then what will happen is, if you have not watched blank at all, then blank will just sit on the left room as attack like normal if you do not close the door and watch his camera first. It's hard to explain, but you'll see what I mean in a moment. Well, not in a moment, but like. On this 231 interval, Penguin closes the door and then immediately blank will attack. So I highly recommend that you watch blank on this interval. It's also worth mentioning that you all will going to want to watch Chester out of your living soul. And this is just because I want to make sure that I'm watching Chester to my absolute maximum at all times. And this is prepared for a strategy that will happen at the 3 to 4 AM range that can save tons of power on your run. You'll notice that after every blank attack, I'm always checking camera 7 and camera 3, just to make sure I'm not missing rat under any conditions. I'll also camp camera 5 quite often if I'm not going to check Chester for a while, just to make sure I'm also not missing Candy, or cam 3 I'm not going to miss Cindy, or on 7 or 3 I'm not going to miss rat. On 322 and 140, old Candy is going to overwrite blank's interval, and by that I mean they're going to both happen at the same time, most likely, so you're going to have to close the door and react to old Candy and both blank at the same time. So I recommend you have the door closed while you do the attack. This can be pretty power efficient, but if you consider it right, it does work. Now there's the matter of Cindy. You really do want to try your absolute hardest to predict when Cindy is going to show up on intervals, and it's really down to mastering when Cindy is going to show up. You can also try checking camera 12 really often and camera 2 in case you miss her, but this works on most occasions, but also just drains time on Chester. This is the point of the night where you do not want to be watching Chester at all until he reaches camera 7. On camera 7, Chester is in an extremely useful position, as you can use him to see both Candy and Rat. And this will lock in their position. If you see Rat on camera 7 at all, he's in threat range. And you'll be able to see him immediately show up, unless you are dealing with something else at the moment like blank. So now, Chester is on the verge of reaching camera 7. I've chosen to not watch him for a very long time. See, I almost died to Cindy there. And right here, I saw both of them move into camera 7. You saw him on camera 8 for a moment, but now he's in camera 7. As you saw there, I saw Candy move, and when I saw Candy move, I immediately reacted by closing the left door. So now we're at the end of the night. What you can do is that the power out sequence is always 25 seconds. So what you want to do is keep enough power until you reach 535. Then once you reach 535, with whatever power you have left, close all 3 doors and finish out the night. That was our last blank interval, 5:30, one last rat attack, and then now we have reached the end of the night, 5:35. If we close all doors at this point, we literally can't die, and that's exactly what I do. And ladies and gentlemen, that is my daily Blood 720 win, but unfortunately, I took too long, so you will not. This is the end of the daily Blood 720 win streak. I'm really sad this came to an end, but it had to at some point, and I knew I wasn't going to get very far, but I will still be grinding for my 2 in a row challenge. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this precious video. It took so long to edit, and I really hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye. Hey, I just wanted to appear at the end of the video to say thank you so much for watching the video. This is literally my first attempt to try to edit a video. It's been a blast to edit it, but honestly, I just want to give a huge shout out to Shadowsdale. Putting him in my titles did not do enough justice to display how much he does for my channel. He makes thumbnails and crazy stuff for my channel all of the time.
Hey, you stole my idea. Why'd you do that?
Look, man, I just really wanted to make this video. Like, I'm sorry. Okay.
Whatever. I might go send In Full Swing to a mod again.